Hello. Can people hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Great, thank you. All right. Yeah, welcome to the September community office hours for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Working Group and the OpenSSF, or the DEI Working Group. Today's topic is finding mentors and community in the open source software space and cybersecurity. And so we have two great speakers today. We have Ijoma and Santiago here. They have both mentored and also been mentored themselves. And so I'm really looking forward to the sort of insights and tips that they can offer today. I think sort of just quick logistical aspects as well. Please raise your hand if you have a question. And we will definitely try to leave ample time towards the second half of the hour for just community questions. Does that sound good?
Yeah. Oh, to me.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, let's start with sort of general introductions. If maybe Joma, you want to go first, just a little bit about yourself, how you got into OpenSSF, and yeah, just what you're currently working on.
Okay, good day, everyone. So my name is Ijoma Nwoka. I'm a community manager and open source and day advocate. I've been contributing to a lot of open source projects. I currently contribute to Chaos. I review open source events, especially Linux events, to make sure that conveners actually do what they say they will do when it comes to diversity. So I recently picked interest in cybersecurity. So I wanted to see more open source cybersecurity projects that I could contribute to based on the level of skills I currently have. So I didn't really quite get a good number. So I came across OpenSSF and I felt like, wow, okay, this is a foundation. I should probably check it out. I went to the website, I saw the day working group. And since it's something that I'm very, very interested in, so I started contributing in my own little way. And I look forward to doing much, much impactful contributions. So outside my contributions, I'm a community manager at Scandium Systems, a no-code test automation software. And then I also manage a community for developers, Google developer groups here in Lagos, Nigeria. So yeah, that's it about me.
Thanks. Yeah, Santiago, do you want to go?
Sure. Although I forgot a couple of the things I had to answer, so I'll give it a little bit of a free form introduction. I am Santiago. On my day job, I'm a professor at Purdue, but most of my life I've been engaging with open source in different ways. I think I actually had a little bit of a slow start. I tried many different communities until I kind of landed on a couple of Linux Foundation projects, namely Tough, in Toto, Sixdoor, WAC. I also I mentored through, say, Google Summer of Code and the LFX mentorship program. Trying to remember what else should I cover. And yeah, I also contribute to, say, Arch Linux and other open source initiatives. All in all, I think I went from wanting to do it to finding people who enabled me to do it, to eventually building my own projects, to eventually mentor and enabling other people to join the open source ecosystem. So yeah, it's a very rewarding experience, and I'm happy to talk more about it.
Yeah, thank you both very much for being here. So should we just jump straight into the topics? And I know that sort of these general, how you got into open source and the security space will definitely emerge again as well. Yeah, so maybe first question just to set sort of a common language and a common understanding, but also maybe to show that mentoring means different things for different people. Sort of in both of your experiences and opinions, what are the differences between mentoring, coaching, and even sponsorship? I don't know who wants to go first, but we can sort of just go back and forth.
I could go. Do you want to go first, Gemma? Okay, then I'll go ahead. I think mentoring is a very unique relationship in that I think it includes a lot of the other categories that you brought up. It includes coaching, it includes sponsorship and advocacy. It also, my understanding is it's longer term that these other types of relationships, and that it tends to be for a couple of months, sometimes for years. And one of the very rewarding elements of having a mentee-mentor engagement is that you grow together, and you also learn about your mentee or your mentor, and use that to effectively feedback into your own growth as both a mentor and mentee, but also as a way to identify all of the different areas of open source that you need to help with. Say, not only the technical side, but also engaging with the community, also listening to feedback, also just enjoying yourself. All of these very important things about being part of open source.
Thanks. Yeah, Ijoma, what about you?
Okay, to add to what Santiago already said, mentorship is more long-term, more than coaching. So as a mentor, you're there for them, guiding them, providing them guidance, and career advices, and checking in on their progress and all of that stuff. But then as a coach is more of a short term with a more specific goal. Let me put it that way. So let's say you want to help someone become a better software engineer or learn JavaScript. Let me put it that way. So as a coach, that's just what you'll be doing all through, making sure that, okay, have they learned this particular field and that. But then as a mentor, yeah, I'm very, very interested in the overall growth of your mentee, in career-wise, and probably opportunities and all of that stuff. And then when it comes to sponsoring, so as a sponsor, you're that person that speaks up for them. You advocate. It's more of advocacy. So you're that person that advocates for them. You're mentioning their names in rooms where they are not even present. You're looking out for them, looking for opportunities for them. Just take for an example, you have a senior executive at work that is at those meetings and telling other executives, okay, I love Marcella. She's very, very good at her job. I think she's due for a promotion, stuff like that. So that's how I see these terms: sponsorship, coaching, and mentorship. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I think what you both said certainly resonated with me, and that's sort of what I've seen too, especially what you're just saying right now, Ijoma, about the sponsorship and the advocacy. There's um like at that point there's already been a relationship established almost, right, between the sponsor and the sort of person being advocated for. And so they can just go ahead and advocate for them in these like high stakes meetings, like you're saying. Whereas, yeah, mentorship is this like much more long term give and take between the two. And so the reason why I wanted to highlight this is because I think knowing sort of the type of relationship that you're looking to establish can help especially people looking for mentors, set expectations, right? So, and I'll start with you, Gemma. Can you maybe just go a bit more into detail about expectations? Like, what can mentees expect from a mentorship program specifically?
Okay, so as a mentee, what I'm expecting from a program is let, let's say career advice, because at the end of the day, all of us will want to progress, we want to thrive in our careers. So as a mentee, I want my mentors to have that in mind, and I want them to be very passionate about my growth. And then some other expectations, sorry, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Um, I think I might need to leave and join. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Another thing is a chance to um okay. Yeah, I think I can hear myself. Okay. So another thing is I want a mentor to be able to give me feedback, especially on my strengths and weaknesses. And what are some of the things that I'm doing wrong as a mentee based on your experience? And so try to correct them for me. Another thing is resources and opportunities. When you have mentors, a lot of times they provide you with resources that have actually helped them in their journey. So they try to provide those resources for you. And then another thing is opportunities as well. So as a mentor, most times you could find opportunities that will be very, very beneficial or impactful to your mentees. So I expect that you share. But then one thing again is sometimes people over expect. So you have to understand the kind of relationship you have with your mentor as a mentee, and um, that determines the kind of expectations you're supposed to have. But generally, I want feedback. Feedback is very, very important. So what the things I'm currently doing or the things I'm currently learning, the career path I want to transition into, the projects I want to contribute to, do you have any feedback or advice to give me? And then a supportive environment where I can freely discuss my challenges. So there are some people that you can't really talk to them because they don't give you that opportunity. So as a mentee, I want a mentor that I can reach out to and tell them, okay, I'm currently struggling with this particular thing. I don't know if you've seen this kind of issue before, or do you have any advice for me or any way I can solve this particular problem? So yeah, those are some of the expectations I would expect as a mentee on a mentorship program.
Thanks. Yeah. What about you, Santiago?
Well, I think this pretty much covers it. I think at the very sort of like a baseline, a degree of attention and like genuine concern and interest in the growth in my growth as a mentee is, I think, one of the things that are incredibly important. And I think that from that you can sprout a bunch of other things, right? I think the things that I've seen succeed the most is providing this sort of a idea that this relationship allows you to be protected. Like sometimes, a lot of the times, it's as a mentee, you're concerned about the implications of what you're doing, making mistakes, things of that nature. A mentor that lets you know that it's fine, that you are able to experiment and play and grow, lets you really develop yourself. I think the second part is also just the overarching sort of providing personal and general guidance on how usually would somebody with more expertise would approach a problem. I think that's incredibly useful. I think that's pretty much what comes to mind. I don't know I don't know what else to add.
Yeah, no, I think you both touched on some really important points, which is, on the one hand, um, what I gathered from both of your descriptions is there needs to be a level of trust, and there needs to be a between the two people, between the two parties. Um, and establishing that just takes time. And so it sort of requires this commitment to sort of engage regularly, and also commitments to, like you said, from the mentor's perspective, to really be invested in the growth and the career progression of the mentee. So yeah, I think that, to me, those are sort of like the very key aspects about mentoring. So yeah, on that note, especially around the sort of trust relationship, and I think you both already touched on some of this, but is there something specific that stands out to both of you from prior experiences that you said, oh, this really helped make the relationship or the program successful, right? Like this very particular interaction or approach really sort of, maybe as mentors, you could see how your mentee suddenly like found their own voice and their own path. Or as a mentee, you said, I'm very glad my mentor did this thing, which sort of helped you then go out on your own. So yeah, what was one sort of like a key success that you would want to share?
Okay. When I had a mentor, that was a few years ago, I didn't really know what it meant to be a mentor, probably because my mentor was very, very invested in me. So she was always there for me. And I believe that's one thing a lot of people run away from, that availability, and that makes all the difference. So that's why you see people say, I'm already stressed too thin. I can't have mentors right now. But then you can just follow me and be indirectly mentored by me. That's also a thing. But then for me, my mentor was there every step of the way. Even when I was trying to get into KPMG, she was there trying to help me formalize how I send out emails, how I reach out to people. So I always run to her when I had these difficulties or when I have these questions or silly questions, I would say, because then I didn't know better. So she was always there to ask, to answer, to guide me. Sometimes to go as far as helping me correct some of my emails or some of my documents, stuff like that. So it's made all the difference for me. So it's made it easier for me to always reach out to her, tell her some of the concerns I had. And I grew to the extent that I no longer needed her because she really taught me so well. But I still regard her as my mentor regardless. So I think that was it for me. The availability, the investment. I think, yes, I think that was it for me.
I think to me, something that comes to mind is something I learned from a mentor of mine, which was being very explicit about what you want out of this experience. Something that happens, I've been doing, for example, Google Summer of Code for like 7 years or so. Something that happens a lot is people get into Google Summer of Code because they want to get into Google Summer of Code. And that's perfectly fine. But when you ask them, like, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to engage with a community like this? You find out that their directions vary quite a bit, right? Some people are, hey, I just want to see what this open source thing is. And then you can tune your mentorship approach based on that notion, right? Some other people are more like, hey, I just want to challenge myself with this new technology. And I found that this mentorship program will make me grow in this sort of like very technical challenge. And using this knowledge, both from as a mentor, as a mentee, then you can further like adjust what are what are the tasks or the way that you approach problems or how important certain parts of a mentorship program are. I find that a lot of the times mentorship is a relationship, and a mentorship program is how you do something under that relationship. And one knowing or talking about the second as the former, then you can better adjust like directions and efforts and interests and all of that.
Yeah, thank you both. I know, I mean, you both gave some really good examples of like specific approaches and specific interactions that worked really well. And it's something that I definitely ask anyone that I'm mentoring as well, is sort of, what do you want to even get out of this, right? And I think some mentors are very intuitive and can sort of read the mentee very well and don't need to have a very long conversation. And in other cases, just these regular check-ins are very helpful to make sure that you are still meeting the expectations. Yeah, and I think something that you touched on earlier, Santiago, as well, is this feedback giving to the mentor as well, right? That in some ways, whenever you mentor someone, you learn a lot about yourself and sort of how to interact and be supportive, right? And like Ijoma was saying, you sort of really, it helps you get more invested and know how to invest your time and your efforts into that person. So yeah, I think that's really great. Um, let's see. So I think uh, trying to like segue into sort of maybe a couple more practical questions that the audience might be interested in. You had mentioned Google Summer of Code, Santiago, and I know, Gemma, you've worked through the LF mentorship program. So can you both talk a bit about these specific programs, how mentees can find these programs or just projects in general? Maybe how can projects find mentees, right? To sort of bring in and give an opportunity to contribute. Um, I don't know who wants to go first. It's a long question.
I saw webcam turn off, so I'll jump in. Well, in terms of programs, I think as a mentee, definitely Google Summer of Code, definitely the LF mentorships are two big ones. I would say to make the top three, I would add the Outreachy. I think that pretty much covers three very big opportunities. Now, this is not to say that you need to go through a mentorship program in order to find a mentor and mentee relationship. And a lot of the times, at least engaging with people in the open source community, most open source developers and maintainers would love to mentor. Like they find it as a very rewarding experience. A lot of the people that are part of the open source community were mentored at some point. They were mentees. So it feels like it's just natural. Sometimes just asking, for example, when I started in Arch Linux, I just dropped by and I said, hey, I want to help. How can I help? And suddenly I had like 20 people telling me things that they needed help with, right? And it's not that I did them all, and I'm not like a super amazing developer, but I was like, okay, I can do this. I can try this one out and just slowly grow in that direction. I think an important part of mentorship programs is that they tend to be a little bit more laser focused. For example, to get a project into both LF mentorships and I think Outreachy as well, but Google Summer of Code, projects need to have a very sort of like well-scoped and well-established like deliverable, right? For example, an issue of significant size or reasonable size for the time expected, and this is for a reason. This is to ensure that the mentor-mentee relationship is well sort of like thought out. It's not that you just wasting somebody's time by telling them work on this and then work on that. But that also means that if you are looking for something like very structured, a mentorship program is useful. If you're looking for a more open-ended, hey, can I find somebody to guide me through this sort of like open source ecosystem? which I think it's also a very reasonable way to approach things. Sometimes just reaching out to people is okay.
Okay. Start my key to go ahead.
Yeah. So I don't know if you like dropped for a moment or something. The question was about sort of how can mentees find programs, specific programs? How can they find a mentor? How can maybe projects or programs find mentees to begin contributing and join the community? Whether that's LFX or any of the other ones that you've participated in.
Okay, yeah, I am currently participating in one, digital public goods in collaboration with GitHub. I'm supposed to be working on a project, okay, under UNICEF. And I was the one that found this program because as I want to be mentored, I want to learn. So I need it more. So I'm always in search of that. So I believe as mentees, you should always be in search of opportunities like this because you in as much as yes, these programs, they need mentors, they need people to participate on this, but then they are also impacting you generously. So you need to be very, very active in seeking for them. So I searched for this opportunity and I applied and I got in. And then there are other programs as well, like Santiago mentioned, and we have Google Summer of Code, we have Google Season of Docs for technical writers, and then we have Outreachy. Outreachy is just basically for majorly for people from underrepresented groups. And then we have Mozilla Open Leaders for program, but I've not I've not really participated in that before. Then I've applied to Outreachy a lot of times and I couldn't get in. So I believe as mentees, one of the best ways to find this project is to join communities. It's not because I'm a community manager, but then communities are very, very helpful because when you're in a community, sometimes they share these opportunities. They even go as far as providing you with mentorship or guidance or workshops that helps you prepare yourself for all these opportunities, for these programs. So the best thing to do is to join a community. And another thing to do is connect with more people that are in the open source space. Okay, you want to find these opportunities and you're just out there, you are not connected to anybody, you are not active on social media, because I believe all these projects, they have a social media page, and whenever a program is active, they share on their pages. So what I do is I follow up, I connect with them so that whenever opportunities like this comes up, I don't miss out. So I'm going to advise, connect with this projects, follow them on social media, follow people in the open source space so that you stay updated when opportunities like this come up. And the other thing is you can go on GitHub and search for projects as well. There are a lot of first contribution, good first issue out there that you can just try your hands around. So you get acquainted to the open source space and how it works. Because a lot of times people say they want to start contributing, but then you've never even signed up on GitHub before. So GitHub is very, very relevant when it comes to open source contributions. You don't even know how to use Git. So so it's a lot. So I feel like as mentees, you need to be very active. You want these things. You don't need to be very docile about it. You have to keep seeking, joining communities, reaching out to people, connecting with people. So they get to know some of the things you need. And when they see opportunities like this, they plug you to it. So yes, that's what I feel like.
Yeah, thank you. You actually started answering the next question I was going to ask. So I totally appreciate the very smooth transition. excuse me. So, yeah, you already touched on um, what I was going to ask, which is what advice can you give like mentees looking to enter a community, join a community, just trying to understand, like you said, like navigate the open source space, which has all of these like, how should I say, like unique, almost cultural aspects, right? With the whole like GitHub interaction, like talking on issues, opening pull requests, these kinds of things. It can seem very daunting or intimidating if you've never done that, but you sort of think that this is something you might want to try out. So I really appreciate all the tips that you already gave, Ijoma. Um, but yeah, so what else in general would you say um, if there's anything else that you can think of other advice for sort of overcoming these fears maybe like what sort of advice would you give to people that are like hesitant or worried that they won't fit right or that they'll get rejected right from these programs.
Okay, first thing is I say attend events. Okay, before few days ago, I had roughly 50 people in my DM on Twitter because I made a post about how I moved in 2020 to 2024. I'm currently learning cybersecurity. I kind of blew up with 400 and something thousand views. So I had a lot of dozens of people in my DM asking me they want to get started in cybersecurity. And then I was like, oh, this is perfect timing. I mean, today we are talking about contributing to open source, finding mentors and finding communities in open source and cybersecurity. So I shared the link, but then look, they are not here. So, but they were in my DM a few days ago asking me all these questions. I'm very interested. And I shared a link that would be very beneficial to you, and you did not even care to join to even see what we are talking about. It means that you don't really want this the way you claim that you do. So I always tell people if you are really, really interested in stuff like this, attend events. A lot of times you see different communities, different people hosting webinar sessions, how to get started in open source, how to contribute, how to make your first open source contribution. And then you will see it, you won't attend. And then you go home and you keep feeling like, oh, how do I even get started? But then opportunities keeps presenting itself very quite often, and then you refuse to take it. Then another thing is do your research. A lot of times people don't research. They stay in their bubble and keep asking themselves a lot of questions, keep overthinking everything. You've not even searched for it. Okay, a lot of projects I've actually contributed to, I found them myself. So whenever I'm interested in something, I go out there. Sometimes I even go as far as asking ChatGPT, can you give me, sometimes it could give me very outdated info, but it's fine. I just sieve out and get the ones I need and actually go to this project, go to their website, look for how you can contribute. Read the README. A lot of projects have README. Read it, read every detail about the project, actually find out if it's something that interests you, because a lot of times people say that, okay, hey, I want to contribute to open source, I want to contribute, but you don't even know your why. Why do you want to contribute to open source? And which projects interest you? There are tons of projects out there. Definitely, if the project doesn't interest you, you're not going to last. So you can just breeze in and breeze out, and that's it. But if it's something that you find interesting, you want to stick around for long. So read all the necessary information you need to know about the project, join them on Slack. When I found OpenSSF, what I did, I saw where they said how to contribute. I went there. First thing I did, I added the calendar to my calendar. So when there are events, I attend, especially ones that I'm interested in. So when you attend events, you get to know more about this project. You get to know some of the challenges they are facing and how you can come in And that's how you make little contributions, right? It doesn't have to be something very, very significant. It could just be as little as attending meetings, as little as, let's say you're a designer, you design a flyer for the next office hours. You're already making contributions without you even knowing. So that's what I'm going to say. Attend events, do your research, find projects that are very interesting to you, join them on Slack. You can just join and observe for a while and see how they run things. If it's something that is very, very interesting and you want to keep contributing to it, then you can introduce yourself, attend their meetings, and find ways you can impact. At the end of the day, it's all about making impacts, all about adding value to a particular project. When you join, ask, how can I help? What are some of the things you are struggling with? Stuff like that, then you see where you can come in, no matter how little. So yeah, that's what I have to say. I think I've spoken for long.
No worries. I really loved what you said about, sort of even the small contributions can really they matter, right? Because in open source, it's all about yeah, just like a group coming together and contributing together. So absolutely, I totally know what you mean with small contributions can still have an important impact. Um, yeah, so that was great. Yeah, thank you. I don't know, Santiago, go ahead. Um,
Well, I think this was very, very useful. I think if I if I could try to, I guess, rephrase it, because you really covered a lot of what I wanted to say, if not everything. The three sort of like more abstract pieces of advice that I give is, the first one is be patient with yourself. A lot of the times there's a lot of, or at least we fall into this trap of thinking, well, I tried to contribute to this project, and if it doesn't work the first time, or they don't reply, then it must be that I'm not like doing well, or it must be that I'm not up for it, or that they're not looking for people. Well, in reality, it could be that it's, I don't know, that day there was a conference and nobody was there, or like it could be anything. Like don't blame yourself. Be patient. A lot of this, getting into these internships may take, or programs may take more than one try. It may take 5 times, 3 times. Sometimes you get lucky, you get in the first time. Sometimes your friend makes it in, you don't make it in, and you're like, what's wrong with me, right? So that's the first one. I would say, be patient with yourself. The second one, and I think this is very important, and I think Ijoma really nailed it, is you need to show that you're serious about this. A lot of the times, for example, when I review applications for Google Summer of Code, I do get the impression that a lot of people want to say they did it, but they don't want to do it. So you start reviewing applications and it says, well, yeah, I want to do this issue. What is this project? I don't know, but I just want to kind of do it, right? And that's a little bit disheartening as somebody who reviews these applications, because you're like, well, why do we bother? And the real challenge there is the problem of somebody coming off as if they're not serious or really mean it when they really mean it. And a lot of the times it's you didn't do due diligence, or you didn't think or like introspect internally, well, why do I want to do this? How do I communicate this with the people who evaluate these applications? So making an effort to show that you're like, you mean business, you're going for it, and you're going to take it all the way for like whatever long this program is, it really will give confidence to the mentors that this is also worth their time. The third piece of advice I would also say is start small, which is, and this is very tempting, not only in open source, but really in anything that you pick up, you say, well, I'm going to learn the guitar and I'm going to play like I don't know, like Steve Vai or like somebody like that's amazing, right? And that's not how it works. A lot of the times you should say, well, you know what? I'm going to learn this easy song. I'm going to play a little bit with that. I'm going to grow. And eventually you'll become, I don't know, your favorite open source person, Greg from the Linux kernel, right? At some point you will become that person, but be patient with yourself, show that you are serious about it, and start small.
Yeah, thank you both. Like you said, I think you both really echoed each other very well. If I can add sort of a small tidbit from my own experience too, I gosh, something like 8 years ago, I did one Google Summer of Code mentoring project and was reviewing applications. And maybe a piece of advice that I would give is to be honest in the application, right? Be honest that you are learning, be honest that this isn't something you've done before, but that you are willing to learn. We had one application where the applicant responded to one of the questions, which was, how do you expect to interact with your mentors? How do you expect to interact with the community? And the person actually replied, "Oh, I don't need help. I already know what I'm doing. This is how I should, I already know how I'm going to approach this. I don't expect to need much help or interactions with the community." That person did not get the mentorship because it, the whole point of open source is to collaborate, is to learn from each other, is to sort of recognize, maybe I'm very good at this small piece and somebody else is very good at this other thing. And the person we ultimately gave the mentorship to, he started out small and eventually became a core contributor to the project while it was still active. So all through just honestly showing that level of humility and self-awareness that he was going to learn and sort of grow from this. And as mentors, it really allowed us to say, okay, this is how we can invest our time, and it's going to be worth our while, like you were saying too, Santiago, right? So just maybe like an extra piece of advice there is to just be honest, right, about what you can and can't do. Yeah, so I think this has been really great. We have about 20-ish minutes. I do want to open it up to the audience for questions or maybe additional tips that you want to share. This is being recorded and will hopefully be on YouTube soon, so that others can also get sort of advice they need or just feel a sense of community. But yeah, are there any sort of questions from the audience or any comments you'd like to share about your own experiences? Just raise your hand and Ijoma, Santiago, or me can take it. So yeah.
I wanted to pose the question. I know right now we're talking about open source communities as someone transitioning or new, but what are there opportunities to impact open source in person or locally as a new person, or does it all have to be online?
That's a great question. Thank you. I don't know who wants to take this.
I can probably take it. I find it that I think the short answer is yes, and I find it that sometimes it's even better to start there because it's easier to say develop together with somebody that's from like your same community that may have faced the same hardships, say culturally, maybe speaks the same language as you do, and those things should not be understated. They help a lot. For Arch Linux, we started a Arch Linux Mexico group, which was mostly like users that were interested in eventually start to contribute. And I found that it was also less daunting for somebody who wanted to start contributing to say, well, I'll start local. I'll see if I even like it. This is not like a great stakes. It's not the big leagues in a way. So sometimes that's also better, right? It helps as a stepping stone to like more global remote. It's not to say that one is better than the other. I would even say that they're both very good at what they can achieve.
Okay, I didn't really get the question, but I think what she said, what she asked was, can people contribute to open source locally? Did I get that?
Yes,
Okay,
that was the
okay.
question.
Okay, yes, I feel like that makes a lot of sense. And there's this particular project I contribute to, Chaos. They're in charge, it is a Linux Foundation project for community metrics. So what we did, that was like 2 years ago. So we have a version or a regional version of it we call Chaos Africa. So it's just like having bigger, it's just like having an OpenSSF as a foundation and having one in Africa. So which it is just like bringing it home. So for more, having more regions, for more people to feel at ease to contribute. So, and then when you're contributing from regional, you're indirectly contributing to the global foundation. So it makes a lot of sense. Sometimes people get overwhelmed. Let's say, I had that fever when I joined. I saw Marcella working at Intel. Yesterday, Microsoft, and me that was job hunting. Like, how am I going to survive? People here are OGs, stuff like that. So it felt like I was out of place when I was like, come off it. Just start small, just be there and observe them and see if it's actually a place you can actually survive. So some people don't have that mindset. Just come in, they feel overwhelmed, they run away. So when you have a local version of it, you have more people from your region, let's say, more people from Africa, have people contributing from Nigeria, from South Africa, from Ghana. So it makes it easy for you to get into it. But then you're still contributing to the general foundation, you're still contributing to open source, but then it makes it a lot easier. So let me put it that way.
Yeah, thank
Sounds
you.
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you both. I think it's an interesting question that came up for me in this discussion that I'm going to ask you both, which is we've been talking a lot about finding mentorship and community, but there's actually two perspectives to this question, right? Which is the from the mentee perspective, right? There are a lot of these questions and finding projects and everything we've been talking about today. What are maybe some tips that you both could give from the mentor's perspective or the project perspective? Like, what can projects do better to be more welcoming, to attract more folks, especially like Prince was saying in the chat, right? Like that folks that are like maybe shy or overwhelmed and don't know if they will fit, right? What can the communities themselves do to be more open?
Okay, I'm going to go first, Santiago. Um, I feel like they should try to reach out more, or how do I put it? So sometimes projects don't even come out to say that they need contributors. They're just there trying to wing it with the few people that are there contributing. That's why sometimes maintainers complain that they get overwhelmed reviewing issues and all of that stuff. But then you don't come out to say we need contributors, we need maintainers, we need people that can contribute this particular skill and that and that. And then there are a lot of misconceptions when it comes to open source. A lot of times people think it's just code contributions, but then this project needs a lot of different contributions. It could be hosting events like we are just doing now. So as a community person or as an event person, you could actually contribute to this project via hosting events for them, moderating sessions for them, trying to bring everything all together. You can even contribute as a project person, handling projects for like project management for this project, even as a designer, designing flyers and designing. Some projects actually have softwares that people use. So you can come in as a design person, making sure that, okay, the designs are friendly and accessible, stuff like that, and not just code contributions. So I think projects needs to come out more often to say, we're actually looking for contributors, or these are various ways you can contribute to our project. And then they need to be more detailed as well on how people can contribute on their website. There are some projects, you go to their website, you don't even find where you can join. Okay, and let's say you want to contribute, you don't even know where to, you don't even know if they have a Slack community that you can join. You can't find their calendar on their website. So how do I get started? And then this is something that I'm very interested in. So you just look at it and then you forget about it because because as human beings, sometimes we get carried away. So it's very easy when you go and you find what you're looking for, you just jump right in. Before you know it, you're already in. But then when you keep searching, it becomes very difficult and you end up forgetting about it. So I feel like projects need to do better in that aspect. Another thing they can do is host more events. Like I mentioned on one of our community calls, something like a product showcase, invite people to attend these events where different open source projects can come together and introduce their project and talk about what they do and various ways you can contribute so that contributors can actually know where to get started from. Because a lot of times people struggle with how do I get started? That's the issue, yes. And one more thing, outdated documentation is a very serious issue. So there are some projects you see on GitHub with a very outdated documentation. They're probably doing something else, or the project has actually progressed more than what they actually have on their README. And sometimes it makes people to lose interest. People that would have actually joined and that could have given you much valuable contributions, you just miss out on that. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I think there's a lot of very valuable, yeah, just advice for projects there. Because oftentimes projects will say like, we are looking for new contributors. And I think it comes back a little bit to what you're both saying earlier about showing commitment and sort of being I should say like persistent in like searching and trying to find the right fit for you. So projects kind of need to do the same thing, right? They need to actually show that commitment that they're serious. Yeah, Santiago, what do you want to add?
Yeah, no, that touches on what I was going to say. I think if you ask every single open source project out there, they will tell you there's a want. They want to mentor, they want more people, they want help, they're understaffed. They're well, not understaffed, but like they have less people than they would want. But then there's not the show or the strategy or the vision to actually build up a pipeline to get people into mentorship, not only programs, but mentorship relationships writ large. So, for example, something that I found very useful over time is to just keep like a thought at the back of my head as to if I could do this, say, is this a task in the project, something that's in the critical path? No. If it is not in the critical path and it could be good for somebody to work on, then why don't I just let it be a part of a mentoring project? And it's almost like you're leaving entryways into the system that are rewarding and that they're useful to the project in general. Something that I found as like an unsuccessful case for a mentoring program or experience is that somebody says, "Hey, I want to help with the project," and they're like, "Okay, then update the documentation." And it's like, well, that's not something that's easy, right? It's something that is meant to be for somebody who understands the system like in depth and that wants to update the documentation. Instead, you cannot say like a feature request that's small enough for somebody who needs to be acquainted with with a project can work on in the span of 2 months. And if you do that, then you're more likely to not only attract people that feel that their work is worthwhile, but also they may want to stay. I think a mistake that I see in, say, Google Summer of Code and a lot of these other projects is that they don't have a like post wrap up plan. They say, well, you spent 3 months here, and then what are the odds that you stick around to help us? And I think that that's not what we should be striving for, but rather use these programs as an on-ramp to have more open source developers that eventually become maintainers, that eventually move on to make their own projects, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully some project maintainers and yeah, just owners and also looking to people looking to create their own projects can take away a lot from this. Yeah, thank you both. I'll sort of prompt one more time if there are any other questions from the audience. We have a couple of minutes left. Otherwise, I think, yeah, we can wrap things up. And yeah, thank you both again for sharing just so much invaluable advice, right? I really hope that that can help more people sort of feel encouraged and feel seen to join these communities, but also, right, the communities sort of become more, yeah, welcoming. I don't know how else to say, right? Yeah, we have a question that we can maybe address in the chat, but we have a couple of minutes left. I think maybe to close things out, maybe to Princess Point, I think this is a good way to close things. So sort of, I'm going to ask each of you to sort of share your final thoughts. What's like the very first step that someone can take, right, when they're looking to get started? And yeah, feel free to sort of share any last thoughts as well.
Okay, to get started, like Prince said on the chat, my problem is where do I get started? I would say from anywhere. Start with asking questions. I go on Twitter, go on LinkedIn, ask. I believe there will be someone ready to answer your question. There will someone ready to guide you, or just not really guide you, but point you in a direction that could actually take you to the destination that you want to be on. So I'm going to say ask questions, research, do a lot of research. If you want to get started with something, go on Google, YouTube, watch videos. That's why people create this content, so that people don't have to keep saying, how do I get started? There are dozens of resources out there on how to get started. Read them, watch these videos. You could even go as far as reaching out to people on LinkedIn. We could say, okay, I just watched a video that you made about getting started in open source. So I decided to reach out. Okay, I'm currently a software developer. Do you know any projects that would be very welcoming for beginners in software development, stuff like that? So ask a lot of questions, reach out to people a lot, and I believe you will definitely find something. Yes, you will.
Thank you. Yeah, Santiago.
I posted a link on the chat. It's a website that I really like called upforgrabs.net. It actually crawls through effectively projects that went all the way so as to say, hey, I need people. Here's a couple of issues. This is the tag that we use on GitHub for newcomers that want to come into the project. This is something that I use on my open source course at Purdue for students to find like things that they could work on. And the reason why I like it is because there's like a self-selection bias there. Some of these projects at least spent 10 minutes updating like a YAML file to put themselves on this list. And they're like different size projects. It lets you filter by, like, say, complexity. I did this myself. I ended up contributing to an open source like massive multiplayer RPG like 12 years ago. I was like, how do these things actually work? And I contributed a feature. I had to learn a bunch of technologies that I don't think I'll ever touch again. But it was very rewarding, and I think that's one of the beauties of open source that we don't highlight enough. It doesn't need to be like a forever engagement. I went there, I learned from them, I was guided quite a bit. I eventually sent them a patch, and I went on my way, and I learned a lot.
Thank you both so much. This has been very, very helpful. Thank you to everyone who joined. Yeah, I hope to see everyone around, right, in OpenSSF or other communities. So have a good rest of your day. Thank you
Thank you,
again.
both of
Thank
you.
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 Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Santiago. Connected with you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'll see you around.
All right. Bye.
Hi, thank you.